And then we've got number 3 is analogous service. These are tasks people perform that Jesus accomplishes and performs perfectly in his earthly ministry and in his heavenly ministry for eternity. I'll give you a couple examples. As the last Adam, Jesus covered with his righteousness the sin entered by our first parents. Jesus, as the true and better Abel, you remember Cain and Abel? Though innocent, Jesus slain, his blood cries out for acquittal. Jesus, as the greater Abraham, left his father and his home to serve people in God's church, just as Jesus left Father and heaven. Jesus is the greater Isaac who carried his own wood to his sacrifice of himself. He's the greater Jacob that wrestled with God in the garden and walked away from the grave. Jesus is the greater Joseph that serves at the right hand of God. Jesus is the greater Moses, mediates between God and man, bringing the new covenant where Moses had brought the old covenant. Jesus is the greater Job that suffered and was tormented by the devil so that God may be glorified while friends were of no help or encouragement. Jesus is the greater David who slayed giants of Satan and sin and death through the eyes of the world, though it was certain that he would suffer defeat. He's the greater Jonah that spent 3 nights in the grave, not just a fish, to save the multitude, even larger than Nineveh. That's you. He's the greater Boaz that redeemed Ruth and brought her from her and her despised people into community with God, foreshadowing Jesus doing the exact same thing with his church. He's the greater Nehemiah that rebuilt Jerusalem for God's people, foreshadowing Jesus who is currently building a new Jerusalem when heaven and earth touch for us on earth. He is the greater Hosea who married an unfaithful wife whom he continued to pursue in love, foreshadowing the heart of Jesus who does the same with his unfaithful bride, the spiritual prostitutes. That's us. We just got done with our summer study through Hosea, and there's no more clearer picture of the fact that Hosea, a prophet, a man of God, was told to marry a prostitute so that he would endure that marriage and understand that Jesus is doing the same thing with us. And we run from him, and we run to our idols, and we run to sexual sin and any other sort of deviance, and we run and we run and we run and we run. And what did Hosea do? He pursued her. Our God is a God that pursues, not one that says, you screwed up, I'll wait till you come back to me. He says, through repentance, I'm on your heels the whole time. You turn from your sin, I'm right there. He's been following you the whole time. He's the greater Hosea. Those are all analogous service, which Jesus perfects in his ministry.